You know, if there's one subject that universally freaks parents out when they move abroad, it's gotta be math. It feels like the biggest academic hurdle, right? The one thing that can make or break your child's school experience in a new country. So today, we're gonna unpack that math shock. It's the question that probably keeps a lot of you up at night. Your kid is a math whiz back home, top of their class, and then you make this huge international move. And suddenly, their confidence just plummets. So what's going on? It's not because they suddenly got worse at math. It's because they're being asked to speak a completely different mathematical language. I want to tell you a real story about a parent named Harish. His son was a star student in India's super tough CBSE system. But when they moved to Canada, the placement test was, well, it was a shock. The school said his calculation speed was amazing, but he couldn't explain how he got his answers. He knew the what, but he couldn't explain the why. And because of that, they placed him a full grade lower. This difference is everything, and it's what we really need to get into. To really understand this, let's first dive into one of the world's most rigorous systems, the CBSE method from India. I want you to think of this as the world of how to get the answer and how to get it done fast. The whole philosophy here is built on something called procedural mastery. This is all about mastering the step-by-step methods, the algorithms, the formulas. This system was really born from a culture focused on these high-stakes, super competitive national exams. It's designed to create a student who is incredibly fast, incredibly accurate, and ready for any test you can possibly throw at them. And look, this system has some serious strengths. Students master multiplication tables and algorithms super early on. They build discipline through tons of practice and drills, and maybe most importantly, they often get a huge head start on algebra, tackling complex ideas way before their peers in a lot of other countries. But, and this is a big but, there's a trade-off. In that race to get the correct answer as quickly as possible, the explanation often gets left in the dust. The system just doesn't typically train students to justify their reasoning or to draw models or even explore different ways to solve the same problem. And that is the critical gap they face when they step into a different educational culture. Okay, so now let's flip the coin and look at the other side of the spectrum, the IB, or International Baccalaureate method. If CBSE is the world of how, you can probably guess, IB is the world of why. Here, the name of the game is conceptual clarity. This whole approach comes from an inquiry-based learning culture, where true, deep understanding is valued way more than just memorizing formulas. It's about taking the time to explore, to question, and to really visualize the logic behind the numbers before you even think about touching a formula. This approach is all about building thinkers, not just human calculators. And you can really see the results of this approach. An IB student doesn't just know that 3 times 4 is 12. They can tell you what multiplication is, that it's repeated addition, or that it's the area of a rectangle. Math gets connected to real life, shopping, travel, you name it, and students are constantly trained to communicate their thinking using diagrams and explanations. But just like the other system, the IB method has its own limitation. All of that deep thinking, well, it takes time. So when an IB student lands in a system that really values speed, with time to tests, heavy formulas, and repetitive drills, they can really struggle. They can get the answer, sure, but they might not finish the test on time. So what happens when a student trained in the world of how enters the world of why? Or the other way around? This, right here, is when that academic shock truly hits. And on this slide, the friction just becomes so obvious. A CBSE student who is brilliant with formulas suddenly gets an open-ended question and is asked to draw a model, and they just freeze. On the other hand, you have an IB student, a fantastic conceptual thinker, who is faced with a timed test full of formal algebra, and the pressure is immense. The thing is, neither student is less capable. Their training has just prepared them for a totally different kind of battlefield. So here's the most important point of all of this. This isn't about which system is better. It's not a competition. It's about building a bridge between them. The real goal is for your child to become, for lack of a better term, mathematically bilingual, fluent in both the language of procedure and the language of logic. And the formula for becoming bilingual is actually pretty straightforward. If your child comes from a how background like CBSE, you just need to add the why. Work with them on explaining their thinking, talk it out, use visual models. And if they come from a why background like IB, you need to add the how. Introduce some timed drills and practice those formulas to build up their speed and their confidence. Okay, so let's bring all this home. What can you do right now? You can actually create a personalized blueprint for your child's success, no matter where you are in the world. All you have to do is start by asking a few key questions. Is your child a natural formula lover, or are they more of an explorer? What kind of system are you moving to? Is it structured, or is it more inquiry-based? Just answering these questions will help you figure out if you need to lean into building reasoning skills or if you need to practice for speed. It's all about creating that perfect balance for your child's specific needs. Because in the end, math is the one universal language that every single country respects. And to be truly fluent, a child who's moving across borders really needs it all. The speed of the procedural world, the logic of the conceptual world, and of course the confidence that comes from mastering both. That right there is the key to unlocking their mathematical future anywhere on the globe.